mighty lonesome, haven't slept a wink. I walk the floor and watch the door, and in between I drink black coffee. Love's a hand-me-down rule. I'll never know a Sunday in this weekday rule. I'm talking to the shadow, 1 o'clock to 4, and Lord, how slow the moments go when all I do is pour black coffee. Since the blues caught my eye, I'm hanging out on Monday, my Sunday dreams to drive. Now a man is born to go a-loving, a woman's born to weep and fret, to stay at home and tend to loving, and drown her past regrets in coffee and cigarettes. I'm mooning all the morning, morning all the night, and in between it's nicotine and not much hard to fight. Black coffee, feeling low as the ground, it's driving me crazy. This waiting for my baby to maybe come around. In coffee and cigarettes, I'm mooning all the morning and morning all the night, and in between is nicotine and not much hard to fight. Black coffee. feeling low as the ground. It's driving me crazy. It's waiting for my baby to maybe come around. My nerves have gone to pieces. My hair is turning gray. All I do is drink black coffee since my man's gone away. Black coffee. Black coffee. Feeling mighty low since my man had to go. Nicotine, I'm a thief for black coffee and cigarettes. No regrets, black coffee. Black coffee and cigarettes. I walk the floor, I watch the door. Don't know if he's gonna come back no more. Black coffee. Since my man's gone away, oh, it's driving me crazy. Waiting for my baby. Thank you.
All right, I'm ready.
Them that's got shall get. Them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Well, your mama may have, and your papa may have. But God blesses the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Now the strong get more, while the weak ones they fade. And oh, you know those empty pockets don't ever, they don't ever make the grade. 'Cause your mama may have, and they say your daddy's got. But God blesses the child that's got his own, that's got his own.
Background sounds coming from Tamm E Hunt, who I have the distinct pleasure of having on the line with me. Good evening, Tammy. I'm very well. I'm
excited about your radio program.
Very good. This is a special jazz tribute that we want to share with the public in honor of Black History Month, although I feel that Tammy is definitely a 365 type of woman. And again, welcome, Tammy. It's just an honor to have you with me.
Thank you so much.
So the background...
Allergy.
Your allergy. Okay.
But I'm very excited to be on the show, and I'm honored to be here.
Okay. So, God Bless the Child. Who wrote the lyrics to that, Tammy?
It was Billie Holiday and a gentleman named Herzog. His first name always escapes me, but it'll come back to me. It was a story that came about because of something that her mother would tell her about God Bless the Child that had its own. And it became a very distinct story.
Mm-hmm.
She was in need of money. Mother wouldn't give it to her. They were always at odds. And And she felt betrayed because she had bought her mother she being Billie Holiday, had basically supported her mother after she came into the level of fame that she accrued and destroyed at the same time. And she was dependent and had social problems with heroin, and it just destroyed her life. And out of that came many songs, and out of that came that tortured sound that she had and that people love so much. That thing that they can't put their hand on.
They can't put their hand on, but somehow it's like, there is a sense of like deep pain, or like he said, like a sound of like torture. And but at the same time, there is like such like resilience, or it's like you're able to empathize with her. Like, it may not be the same pain, but it's pain nonetheless. Okay, but at the same time, you can feel her triumph.
Oh, absolutely, her pathos. Just that energy that from that place where she seems to land. I was reading a very interesting book by Donald Clark, who's a British writer living in America, now in Texas. But he wrote probably the most prolific book on Billie Holiday, called Wishing on the Moon. And it's Donald Clark, Clarke, The Life and Times of Billie Holiday. And it's incredibly researched. He reached deep into Baltimore, where I just happened to be, and talked to the indigenous people, those people who really knew her, And when you read this book, and I've read it 3 times actually, from the front to the back, and then from the back to the front. I went from the last page up to the front page. I know it sounds crazy, but each chapter I read and moved in retrospect.
Okay, since we're talking about
It's written in retrospect because it starts, about her birth. I read it going backwards from the end to the beginning, and it was an incredible way to look at her life.
And we know that, like you mentioned, Billie Holiday was from Baltimore and migrated to New York, and you're from New York and currently in Baltimore. So let's talk about you for a minute, Tammy. Your family, how I have to ask, the typical question, did you start singing in the church? How did it happen?
No, absolutely not. My mother was not about church.
Okay.
She was about God, but she wasn't about church.
Mm-hmm.
No, the church because I wanted to, not because anybody else sent me. So, no, my family didn't. Yeah, I was not in the traditional gospel world. I was a Roman Catholic. Mm-hmm. And there was no singing going on, just a little bit, but it was nothing heart-wrenching, not even operatic, actually, that would inspire me to sing. But I don't know where really I could point it to, except that when I was born, my father was a tap dancer.
Oh, great. Oh, I love it.
And he used to dance at the Apollo and all over Harlem and wherever else. And he was in a group called Tip, Tap, and Toe. And this is legend because I don't really know, because I after they broke up, I had very little contact with my dad.
Okay.
But when I came home to my Uncle Benny and Aunt Hannah's house, because that's where my parents lived. And Aunt Hannah was a singer. She was a blues singer. who have performed on Broadway in plays like Shuffle Along, you know, a Noble Sissel, and Yubi Blake wrote the music for.
Okay.
And she was known as the Mae West of Harlem.
She must have been sizzling.
This club on 125th Street called the Celebrity Club. And she also was the most recorded vocalist with Fletcher Henderson.
Wow.
And she and Victoria Scotty recorded extensively with Fletcher Henderson, and they were also great friends, the three of them. And so in my house, there was always this music. My uncle owned a record label, you know, and he recorded people like Big Maybell, and it was amazing. And anybody could be in my house. Martha Ray, the comedian who was very close to Aunt Hannah.
Wow. Okay. Martha Ray.
According to my mother, is that I have been standing and talking, maybe not talking, standing as steadily, but that I was definitely very vocal.
Okay.
I was very, very vocal, and that when Hannah would come in from performing at night, I would wake up when it was time for that key to turn the door, that I was sort of like wind up like a clock, and my alarm would go off with great expectation. And of course, she would take me out the crib and play with me. And probably, I think my mother said that she sang to me. So that probably had a great influence on me, some sense memory there.
Well, if for the listeners, if you would be so curious as to Google Tamm E Hunt and have the good fortune to see a photo of her, very, very beautiful woman, and you can see the curiosity in her face. So I just wanted you to know all that to say that she got this music bug. Okay, the fever, honestly, quite honestly. Yeah.
I enjoy singing. I like two things. There's several things that I like to do and that I do well. I don't delve in things that I don't do well, in terms of for you to see. If I master something, then I'll bring it, and I always know that I can tweak it and make it better. I just had that experience on Friday, and I felt really good about my performance, but I know it can be so much better,
Mm-hmm.
With everything, we all can be better.
But that attitude, like, I can do better, not comfortable and saying like, well, that is it. And then you stop growing. But I think that attitude, it is like the attitude of excellence. Always wanting, to like...
It takes just as much energy it probably takes more energy to not give a damn, if you will, as it does to embrace something and challenge yourself toward it. Fear, we all have that. We all have those worlds that keep us feeling insecure in some kind of way. Until you're certain, and it's about building your confidence. We're diamonds. We have to polish ourselves, So I always express that I'm a diamond being polished. And that's how I'm trying to treat myself,
Yeah, and people who have that attitude, it's like no matter if they receive good news or bad news, regardless of the origin, somehow they're able to take that and work with it and take him or herself, to another level. And that is like being unencumbered, having the freedom to use everything in the environment, especially, constructive criticism. But I know, as an artist, a lot of artists are known for like taking the hard knocks and incorporating that into, like their whole, presentation. and becomes a very honest piece of art when you're able to do that. Has that been your experience?
Well, we all suffer for something.
Mm-hmm.
And your suffering may not be like mine.
Mm-hmm.
To quote B.B. Campbell, the author, your blues ain't like mine.
Right.
We all hurt, we all have pain, we all have challenges. But we're all unique, we're all unique individuals. Even if we're born at the same moment, we're still unique individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Once people begin to accept their individuality, their uniqueness, and really embrace it, and really, 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 really learn how to accept who it is that they are. And I don't say don't try to prove yourself. I'm saying embrace who you are right there so that you'll know what to do with yourself. And I had to learn that. I'm no guru, trust me. But, I get to look at life, I'm like, wow. Look at look at who I am and where I got myself. Look at this hole I'm in. I've got to climb out of here, and not sink here. Maybe you sink it somewhere else, but you don't sink, where you're standing. Learn the lesson and keep going, because you're going to keep having the same experiences anyway.
Right. For sure, don't stand still. Just want to turn the volume up on Autumn Leaves for a couple of minutes, Tammy.
Red and gold, I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands that I used to hold, but since you went away, the days grow so long. Most of all, my darling.
Background sounds coming from Tamm E Hunt from the Live at Birdland CD with Gary Bartz and Mark, is it Gollehon? Gollehon? Gollehon, okay, and Eric Reed. I didn't recognize Mac's name, but definitely familiar with Gary Bartz and Eric Reed.
Well, Matt Gollehon is a well-kept secret, and he's got a killer new CD out right now. I don't know the name of it, but the last CD that I recorded with him and co-wrote a tune on was called A Tribute to Fats Navarro, with the smoking section, and that was Ronnie Cuba, Lonnie Plaxico, Ronnie Barrage, Matt Gollehon, of course, James Hurt, and a couple other cats in there that I can't remember who else it was off the top of my head, but it was a killer aggregation, and I was proud to be a part of that project. I got some really nice accolades in some trumpet magazines for my lyrics. I was actually how can I say, I was flattered to say that, to hear that this person felt that I was as powerful in my lyricism as Curat in his poetry.
Okay.
And I that was encouraging. I don't think I've written in too many songs since then. But no, well, that's not true because I write all the time. But it's called Bebop Revolution. And it's very avant-garde, and I'm singing all over the place, and it's very, very, very beatnik, very bebop-ish, very outlandish, but it tells the story of bebop. And it's like Disney Bird had a word about a thing you never heard. They call it bebop. And it just goes on, in walk Kloop. And there was no Fluke, and there was Klook, and then there was Bird and Diz, and on the other side was Monk, and it just goes on, and names all the musicians, Max, and it takes a straight photograph, and it's wonderful. Mac wrote the music, I wrote the words, and performed it.
Okay, so he is a well-kept secret. But since you mentioned.
I would love to refer him to you and let him send you his music, because I think you would really enjoy it.
Okay. Since you did mention Thelonious Sphere Monk, let's talk about Nellie Monk.
Edie, talking about the son or the father?
Oh, I mentioned the father, and then I said let's talk about Nellie Monk, his wife.
Well, Nellie Monk was a godmother to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's someone very, very, very instrumental in my life. She was a principal in my life. I learned a lot. When she was eulogized, I was one of the people who did that, and I paid a tribute to her. And I think I ended it with her saying, that I was a proud student of the University of Nellie Monk.
Mm-hmm.
And I also said the same thing, that I was a graduate of the University of Jim Tyrell, who was one of the first black, as a matter of fact, he was the first black president at CBS Records.
Okay.
And he's the man who taught me the music industry as it used to be.
When you were singing with the group Fantasy, was that your entree into professional singing?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
I sang on Top of the Pops in England while living in England, and I recorded with Elton John on the Tumbleweed Connection album.
Wow.
No, by no means was that ever my first introduction.
Okay.
I was on the road with Sam and Dave. Yeah.
You go.
Dancing and had a group called the Stardettes. I'll send you the advertisement.
Okay.
And the Stardettes, I was the captain of the dance team. Yes.
Wow. Wow, Tammy. So when did you...
I was a little girl.
So when did you swerve more towards jazz?
Oh, jazz was always around. Again, jazz was always there. Jazz started with Aunt Hannah.
Okay. I mean, definitely that was in your background, but...
They were rehearsing in there. They were jamming in there. They were getting high. They were doing whatever they were doing. When I say getting high, I don't mean related. They were drinking gin.
Getting lifted.
They were partying.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
That's the word. They were partying. They were working. People would be in the house like Billie Holiday. People like Dinah Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Cray.
Oh, yes.
So these people were around, and Dorothy Donegan, all kinds of people.
Want to talk about Dorothy Donegan, if you don't mind? I told you the one thing we had in common. An uncle of mine, his father-in-law was the drummer. His name was Kansas Fields for Dorothy Donegan. And then when I heard that she was like one of your mentors, I said, "No way."
Oh yeah, she was amazing in my life, and I guess I keep using the word amazing because I'm a really fortunate person. People say, "Oh, you're blessed." I'm fortunate, is what I am, and I've been connected to such incredible genius. And if I could be a speck of what I've been surrounded by. And I'll be a happy person, Brilliant and insanity sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy Donegan, I've heard all kinds of wild stories about Dorothy. I called her Auntie D. And she would have me travel with her sometimes. But how I met her, I had an organization that I founded called Harlem Jazz Foundation. And Mrs. Sturm, who is the mother of Ron Sturm, the owners of the Iridium Jazz Club when it was at Lincoln Center, had asked me, and this was in February, I can't think, I don't know, it must have been 96, maybe 97, I don't know. And Dorothy Donegan was playing the Iridium. Well, the Sterns had me to contract a string quartet for Valentine's Day for the upstairs restaurant.
Okay.
And so I did, and they were happy. And, you know, they paid me and served me dinner, and I was ecstatic, and it was great. It was a wonderful New York evening, you know. As I'm sitting there in the lobby, in comes Dorothy Donegan, and I got up, and I said, Miss Donegan, and she said, yes, baby.
Yeah.
She said, come on and go with me. I can't stop. Come on and go with me. And so she took me downstairs, and I told her about the Harlem Jazz Foundation. And she just adopted me from right then on.
Incredible.
Wrote me a check, you know, for the foundation, made it out to Harlem Jazz Foundation, as did Betty Carter. You know, so many people were wonderful to me. The foundation came about and got its legs because of people like Doris Parker, who is Doris June Sidnor Parker, the legal wife of Charlie Parker, whom he never divorced.
Okay.
So she went to her grave being married, even though the press talks about Chan as being his wife.
Mm-hmm.
It was his common law wife. She was not his legal wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Doris Parker was his wife, his legal wife.
Okay. Don't Explain is playing in the background. I want to turn that up just a tad.
Just say all that you will remain. And skip that lipstick, baby. Don't explain. You know that I love you, and when love endures, and all my thoughts of you, oh, I'm completely yours. And I cry to hear folks shout out, oh, I know that you cheat. You see, right or wrong, it don't matter when I'm with you, sweet.
Don't Explain, according to Tamm E Hunt, who has joined me this evening. Tammy, I love that. I love that.
Thank you, Beth.
Yeah.
I had some friends to come out to see me last Friday at Anno's Trattoria here in Baltimore. It's a beautiful cabaret here in this city, and they're part of the cabaret circuit. And they had not seen or heard me perform before.
Mm-hmm.
And they just really made me feel good about my Billie Holiday piece that I do in my show.
Mm.
So, and you sound like them.
Yeah, I just love it. Want to talk a little bit about another woman who had influence in your life, Diane Carroll. Let me say this. When I was working for a big talent manager, she called one day, and I was like, I was so happy. I was just so happy to hear her voice on the other end of the line. And of course, you know, it's like Julia, and that's all you can think about because we had so few images during the 60s. And it was a very bright moment. And I know that she definitely has a special place in your heart, too.
Diane Carroll is not anyone that I've ever met. But, of course, I can identify with her because looking at Diane Carroll, I know that I can. Mm-hmm. I know that I can continue. I worked Feinstein's, Michael Feinstein's cabaret at 60 and Avenue in the Park Regency Hotel. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's super upscale. And I thought, the first thing I thought about was, wow, this is Diane Carroll's room. Diane Carroll works here. As does other great cabaret performers.
Like Leslie Uggams.
Leslie Uggams is another.
Yeah. Two gals from Harlem.
And they're both from Harlem.
Yeah.
And I'm living in Harlem, and I'm thinking, except that I was living in Baltimore when I was doing Feinstein's, but I was like, wow, you know what? You need to get it together, Tammy. Because look at these shoulders you're standing on. Mm-hmm. You know?
It's doable. It's doable.
Look at these shoulders that you're standing on. But my greatest inspiration is Lena Horne.
Oh, Lena. I saw her when she was in the 80s. Oh, she was, what was the name of that show?
Lena, it was called.
It was just called Lena, right. I mean, it was just so authentic. You know, I mean, she just put like, I saw her do it in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. At the Kennedy Center?
No, actually it was the National Theater.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to meet Lena Horne. I was a talent manager for Elizabeth Arden. And I'm working in Bloomingdale. And in comes Lena Horne with this beautiful pea coat, which probably belonged to her husband, and this lamb hat, Russian lamb hat. And she's like very sun-tanned. And and she was just, you know, I think she was trying to be incognito and still come out and have a nice time. Mm-hmm. And she had the shades on. But you knew it was her because the beauty just exuded off of her. It was incredible. Such a pleasant, sweet woman. And I'm standing there, I'm stuck, and she said, "It's all right, baby."
Yeah, I love her accent.
All right,
I mean, just Georgia.
I want a magnum of canoe.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gives me the Bloomingdale card that said Lenny Hayden on it. Well, I was no more good. I couldn't wait to get to the phone and call my mother.
I'm sure. I'm sure, because I had an aunt who lived and breathed. She loved Lena Horne. She loved Liz Taylor and Carmen McRae. But I know like one of the songs on the Live at Birdland is Black Coffee. And, oh, wow. Yeah, Lena Horne, one of a kind, a trailblazer.
Yes. Well, you know, the thing to understand about what makes a star is unique. All these people that stand out in the crowd are not imitators. They're simply living inside the skin that they have, and allowing the ancestors and the powers of the universe to work through them and lift them, and to really open and then allow them to channel the highest healing energy that they can. And, you know, the voice does the Buddha's work, you know, if you will. That's where the healing comes.
From within. Work from within. Yeah.
From the inside out. And
Right.
that's what brings out greatness.
When we were talking about Diane Carroll and being on television, I know that you have started Woman Power Global Network.
Yes.
Tell me about that, Tammy.
Well, it was an idea that I came up with in New York before I moved to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Baltimore in 2002.
Okay.
And prior to that, my son had been murdered.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
In 2000, my son was murdered by gunfire. And it took me a long time to adjust to that. And when I came to Baltimore, I was just looking through things where I had been scribbling and writing, and I poured myself into working from the pain. And I came up with Woman Power Global Network and Woman Power Magazine. And still I want to do Woman Power Magazine. So I put it up online, and it's a place for women of all colors and hues and races and sizes and ages to go and network and to support one another. It's an empowerment. The purpose of it is for women to empower women to empower women. To be able to make connections and never be alone anywhere. Always be able to reach out to somebody in that network that's somewhere where you are. The goal is to have women in the imaginable place where there's the internet, and they could be in the global jazz and the global network. I've done the same thing with the Global Jazz Network and Baltimore Jazzine. It hasn't gone on, and it will, but now I'm out of funds for them.
Okay, so the Woman Power did not replace the Global Jazz?
You say what there?
The Woman Power did not replace the Global Jazz Network?
No, it didn't. It's
Okay.
two separate worlds.
Two separate, all right. Okay.
Yeah, they're two separate worlds. And, but the membership is not trying to support it, I gave them free service until they started charging me the host.
Okay.
And when they started charging me, it just became an expensive endeavor to 3,000 people.
Yeah, untenable.
Only maybe about 10 or 12, and you were one of those people who spent money to help. But you can't keep asking the same people, and there's 3,000, 4,000 people, and you are giving them, because I turned it into a radio and television network. And you're giving them an opportunity to showcase themselves to a new audience. It's not only the 3,000 or 4,000 people right there in the network.
Right.
Your music is playing 24/7. It's looped. So at any given time during the day, someone can hear your music right there. You have a free page where you can put your videos up. You can also upload your music.
I know that
you can put your bio there. You can also receive messages. You also have a blog.
The website is just awesome, and
You have a place to insert your events. I mean, there are a lot of free tools that would have been made available for, say, 2.5 to 3 years, and then when you ask everybody to kick in $5, suddenly I'm living off of the site. So, I had to rethink my martyrdom, if you will, or my martyrdom.
yeah.
Pardon the pun, but my martyrdom. And I had to rethink it. And people are not appreciative sometimes when you give it away like that.
Well, I would say, Tammy, that website is very impressive. And I've been meaning to ask for the longest who developed it for you.
I did all of the work that you did. Anything that changed, it was me who did it.
Okay, so where did you get your IT skills from?
You know what? Everything is I bumped my knee, I stumped my toe,
Trial and error. There you go. Mm-hmm.
I can't pay a design person, so I have to do it myself until I can get that person. And would love to give the opportunity to someone to use it as a showcase for their skills, so other people will buy. You know, you pitch these kind of things to people, but they don't hear. And so my daily prayer is, you know, to link me with like minds like yours.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for this opportunity. Really, I'm enjoying the entire conversation. But back to woman power.
Yeah.
Back to woman power. Woman power is a project, as I said, that its sole purpose is to empower women and the men who love them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excluding anyone. There's no sexism, no racism. You know, there's no casteism. People coming together, bonding, making a difference, supporting. You know, if you showcase your jewels or whatever you're selling, as long as it's legal, you know, because we do have a website for and you know, and we can support one another. I think it's a grand thing.
It is a grand thing, and it sounds like it's broad enough that it will also welcome men and women who may not necessarily be jazz artists or aficionados, you know, but, you know, just wanting to be a part of a network, you know, where you can, like, gain knowledge and share knowledge.
Well, and that's true, because it is about sharing the knowledge, but I just want to be very clear that the Global Jazz Network is a totally different entity from Woman Power Global Network.
Okay.
This is a woman's project that I'm doing. That's an interest that I have. You know, that women learn to empower one another. Women have a very strange kind of hormone that creates discord. You know, women must learn to vibe with one another and come together as team members and uplift one another. If you have a CD out and you belong to a network of 14 people, then all 14 of us should buy your CD. That's the support system. And when you come with your book that's written, all 14 of us should.
I understand.
You know, it's all about paying forward.
Paying forward and reciprocation.
But somebody may not be able to at this time.
Right.
Depending upon someone's economics. Not mandatory, but it's about paying forward. Each one help one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can. You know, it could be turning your friends list over to somebody. No, you don't have to turn the list over, but just share your book with your 5,000 friends and recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
But support. It's all about support teams. You know, helping and buying within our community.
Right.
Society.
That's how you determine whether your community is successful. It's like how many times those dollars are able to turn over within that community. That means there have to be many merchants, many people doing business for it to stay within a particular, you know, community. And that's where a lot of communities like fall short. But now, you know, the trend is definitely being steered towards entrepreneurship. So it's a new time for like all of us. So like any hidden talent that you think you have, would like to have, this is the time to explore it, because if you wait, believe me, someone else will get the idea and definitely exploit it.
Oh, yeah, because it's in the air.
Well, there's a need. If there's a need, someone will come up with the thing to satisfy it.
Well, I have launched the Woman Power Network, and, you know, these are things that interest me.
Mm-hmm.
And And I'm mainly interested in human beings, and having a better world to live in, through my music and whatever way I can do it. But I guess we could call it my community service, I am also going to be doing Woman Power Talk Radio.
Great.
And which is a conversation among a group of women that I invite to come together and on a particular subject. And I would love to ask you to be on the inaugural show.
I'd be glad to. I want to say that you are tuned into Sunday Jazz with Bev Douglas, and I have as my guest Tamm E Hunt, and we have been playing selections from her Live at Birdland CD, and it's been a delight speaking with her on various topics. So again, Tammy, welcome.
Thank you, Bev. I'm having a ball. I feel like I'm hanging out in your living room.
Yeah, me too. Also wanted to talk about the book that you're writing.
Oh, my book. Earl.
Yeah.
The book is called The Roots of Jazz Baltimore. The Movers, Shakers, and Music Makers. And it is a history that I've begun, that I have written, and I haven't even begun, but that I've written, that starts in the early 1700s with the various tribes of Indians or Native Americans who resided in the eastern shores, of southern Maryland is what we should call it.
Mm-hmm.
They habited many areas of that. Some of them were water people, and they were great fishers. But they didn't leave very much documentation on their music. And it goes into the singing schools that were in Annapolis. And the Tuesday Club has the most documentation of Maryland's musical history in the late 1700s and 1800s.
Okay.
So it's an amazing story to be told. And I just striped an exhibit that's titled the same as the book, The Roots of Jazz Baltimore, The Movers, Shakers, and Music Makers, and it's hung for almost a year at the Enoch Pratt-Free Library, Central Library, which is the oldest library system in the country. And so I was honored to have it, and it can be seen on Flickr. I just don't know the URL. But it was funded in, I'm grateful, and I've been asked to hang it somewhere else, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So when did you start writing the book?
Oh, I've been working on the book for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Because,
Wow.
every
Takes a
time
lot of
you
research.
You learn something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm determined that I don't want it to be a certain kind of book. I want to be able to tell the story without slicing it up and leaving anything to anybody's imagination. Because it's a very lush story to tell.
What's the name of the book again?
It's called The Roots of Jazz Baltimore. The Movers, Shakers, and Music Makers.
I love that. I like that a lot. Wanted to talk about what you feel Don Cornelius's impact has been on the world.
You mean his demise or his existence?
Well, it will be more appreciated since he has, transitioned. We're talking about it now because I remember when Don Cornelius was still in Chicago before he moved to LA in the early, 70s. And he had this partner called Clinton Jen, and they would have the kids come in from, after like high school and everything and just, dance. And it's just, that was like the genesis. But I know for me, tuning in on Saturdays, that was after, a few hours of like cartoons, and usually by 10 or 11, depending on where you lived. Soul Train, that was it. It had your entire attention.
That was it, and you did whatever you had to do so that you could sit down and watch it or dance or jump up and down.
That's right. That is right.
Soul Train was the treat. And it was used as a weapon. If you don't do such and such, you can't watch
You mean like have the bathrooms cleaned and the floors mopped like that?
No soul train for you.
Okay. Don Cornelius, he will be missed. He will be missed. And I just, when I think about, like more talent than, I don't know. Would I be so courageous to say more talent than Ed Sullivan? Ed Sullivan had a very long reign on television, but so did Soul Train.
Yes. Well, I mean, I wouldn't compare Ed Sullivan to Soul Train. Soul Train was something revolutionary.
But I'm just talking about in terms of how many different artists walked across that stage.
Well, that's why it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because it was the platform for them to do that. Prior to that, there had been no platform. Mm-hmm. Not in America, but in England, the Top of the Pops on the BBC.
Well, okay, now there was the one out of Philadelphia, Dick Clark.
But that was not black television.
That's right. That's right. Although he did have
Bandstand who brought on people like James Brown because he was a big seller.
Right.
But rarely did you see who you saw on Dick Clark was Pat Boone.
Oh, Tammy.
So, and nothing wrong with Pat Boone. I love Pat Boone. But it is what it was.
And not only that, there was only like one black guy on Bandstand. Remember?
But I don't know that I remember or not.
I do. He was a good dancer.
I'm saying to you that I don't remember American Bandstand. But I don't remember it as much as I remember popping and locking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
So
and all the freestyle and
Cornelius had his team working, and he broke some barriers. Not only did he give exposure to black acts, he also gave exposure to people like Elton John. Mm-hmm. And a number of other of white acts that I right now will not come to the top of my head. But for one, I know that Elton John was on
Soul Train.
Soul Train, yes.
Soul Train.
So Don Cornelius was a door opener. Mm-hmm. He made it possible for a lot of other things to happen because of that show. He gave polish to acts. He had a wonderful relationship with Motown. Mm-hmm. He had the best of the best. Because it's all about program.
Yeah, it was top flight. Definitely was top flight.
And when you were on Soul Train, more people saw you than more people heard you. You listening to the radio, But people sitting down and glued to the television, and you sell 400,000 copies of a record, then you've done something.
Right. Not only that, the acts would come out twice. So, so you would be glued. Oh, they're going to come back. Oh, Cool in the Gang. You're just waiting. Plus, it's like...
the operative was programming.
Yeah.
It was all about his programming.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that as a station manager, as a program director. When you set out to make your station an award-winning station, and it probably already is, I haven't read the background, and I will. And I'm grateful to be on it, and I'm very proud of it, too. When you set out, it's like, are you just going to have a station that's real popular in Iowa, but now that you have access to the internet, go reach out and touch.
Yeah.
You can even get some
makes a difference.
Training. People can see you when you're in the air.
Right.
Conversation, video. It's all available technology.
It is global.
But that's the analogy for the visionary of Cornelius. Don Cornelius had the ability to see on the dream.
Yeah.
He could see beyond the fantasy. He could see the reality of things. So, depends upon how you're looking. And he was a visionary.
A visionary.
He was a visionary. And so that's who Don Cornelius is to me. I think he was a shrewd businessman. Again, a visionary.
You almost have to be.
I think that he had connections of sorts. And when I say connections, that he knew the right people.
And also, again, he could see, the need. I don't see my people on television.
Well, he might have said that. He might not have said that. But what he did was he did it.
He did it and shared the culture.
Because the dancers never got money. They got paid with chicken and biscuits, please. So I'm not going to crown him Martin Luther King. I would not. But what he did was he broke the barrier.
Right.
And he has to be lauded for that. Wasn't commended. He has to be lauded for that. Because he stood up and he used his opportunity to make certain that it could happen. However it went down, I don't know the business model, but it happened. And now it's in the hands of somebody who's going to take it to another level. And that's Magic Johnson, and we all know he has magic.
So tell me, we have exactly 2 minutes left. I don't know if you want to say something about Magic Johnson or just something more about yourself, Tammy.
Magic Johnson's not talking about me, but I do admire him. So now
Okay.
Give him my last 2 minutes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to let you end with anything that you wanted to share.
What I would like to say is that, I wish all the best for everyone who's listening. And thank you, Beverly. Thank you to your radio station,
KBBG.
KBBG. And what's the call letters? 88.1?
Exactly.
And I'm just grateful. I'm having a ball. It's Friday night in Baltimore, and I'm here writing a proposal and trying to get my radio program on the air somewhere. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good omen because you're on KBBG-FM 88.1. And again, I want to thank you, Tammy, and definitely want to wish you the very best in all of your artistic endeavors, which includes your book and your websites, Woman Power Global Network and the Jazz Global Network, and the book, The Roots of Jazz, The Movers, The Shakers, and the...
It's the Roots of Jazz Baltimore, the movers, shakers, and music makers. So it's the Roots of Jazz Baltimore.
Okay.
The music of the movers, shakers, and music makers.
Okay. You heard it, folks. It sounds good.
You can download me on iTunes, or you can download me at www.cdbaby.com/TAMMEHUNT. That's cdbaby.com/Tamm E Hunt.
Thank you, Tammy. It's been Bev Douglas with Jazz Sunday, commemorating great music, great art from African Americans. Tonight it has been Tamm E Hunt. Thank you.